Hello, it's Alpha here, and today we're doing something a little bit different. I haven't really done these type of videos before, but today we are taking a look at the video that was released earlier today, talking about Gerda's skills. And I will give some of my initial thoughts about her kit, and then some potential team ideas. But do keep in mind that it's actually really hard to know how good a hero is gonna be just by looking at the skills and without being actually able to test like how tanky she is, for example. So her skill 1 is called Spring Therapy. When the battle starts, Gerda will be unaffected and she will jump forward. It's a little bit unclear how long the range of this jump is. Once she lands, she will stun/interrupt the enemies around the landing area, and then she will create this hot spring on the landing area as well. And the hot spring seems to be like 2 tiles wide in every direction, and the hot spring will heal enemies and allies. Then if you have her Mythic Plus ability unlocked, it's called Spring of Life. It will increase the healing amount done by the hot spring, and while she is healing allies, the Spring of Life will also reduce the cooldown of her skill 2, which we'll talk about a little bit later. So what do I think about this skill number 1? Well, first of all, it's really nice that she's unaffected at the start of the battles. This means that she potentially has some use against like Aaron almost type of burst teams, because she can like avoid the initial burst and then she can work as like front line, even if your other heroes are hit by the like grouping up of the Aaron and almost. So if you look at the video on the first clip showing like the amount of healing that the hot spring does, it seems like very small. To me, it reminds me something like what Mikola does with her continuous healing. But then the Mythic Plus ability, the Spring of Life, says that it increases the amount of healing. So then on the second clip of the video, the healing amount seems to be a bit more noticeable. And now it's something like, it's still not as high as like auto attack damage is, based on at least what we can see from the clip, but it could be like actually like noticeable amount of healing happening around her. And based on the second clip, the healing is like a lot stronger on allies than it is on enemies. It's like 10 times stronger on the allies than it is on the enemies. So the amount of healing that the enemies get from this is like pretty much non-existent. So it's nice that she has some like self-sustain from the hot spring, like she can start healing right away when the battle starts, because she does her jump and then starts healing herself right away. And even if like she's stunned, the healing should continue from the hot spring and stuff like that. The interruption/stun part of this kit seems like very small or short duration. Like this ability could be very useful if you are actually able to like stun most of the enemies when the battle starts. But the thing that I'm kind of worried about is that how long is the jump range gonna be? Because like even if you could technically jump past like the tanks to the enemy backline, range of the jump would have to be like really long for her to be actually able to do that. So here are a couple of drawings that I just quickly did, trying to like imagine what the hot spring area will be against some like defense or offensive teams. So here we can see that if this is something, the map 4 defense is quite popular, like people are stacking up their heroes on this area. And then if she's going to be jumping to the red circle at the start of the battle, and then the hot spring will be created like 2 tile range around her, then it is possible that the fight will kind of like stay there for most of the fight. So in this situation, the healing area could be like quite effective. If she, for example, jumps on the side of the enemies right there where the red area is, then it's probably going to like cover up most of the backline of the enemies. But then the enemies who are like on the other side of the wall, then those enemies are probably not gonna be affected on this map. And then what I'm kind of like mostly wondering how well it's going to work is how well she can place this on the defense side of things, because if it has like a short range, then she has to be like at the very top tile to be able to like spread it onto the enemy backline. But then what if the attacking player places all of their heroes on the first 3 like attack slots? Then I don't think she can like jump on top of the enemies, so then maybe she will just like do like this very short jump that is then not going to like cover the whole backline of the enemies. But then I don't know, it can maybe still be like useful. It remains to be seen, but I'm just kind of like trying to imagine what it's going to look like. Okay, so then her skill number 2 is called Mighty Smash, and it's just a single target stun that gives her a shield. Based on the video, the shield seems quite small, but of course it's hard to know without testing like how big the shield actually is. It is nice that she has like this ability that can keep on giving her like a shield. And then the Mythic Plus ability reduces the cooldown of this skill too whenever she heals allies. So then I guess we don't know how long the cooldown of this skill is, but of course if she can like keep on casting this quite often, then it's nice that she will get the shield every time. The stun part is kind of like, I don't know how useful it's gonna be. Obviously stuns are nice, but it seems to be like quite short stun duration. And then also like if she's like stuck on attacking the frontline heroes like Fresto and Thoran, then I don't know how impactful the stun part is gonna be, because it's like a single target stun. Then we have the ultimate, Splashing Fun. The ultimate just heals allies around her and then stuns enemies around her. And the range of this healing / stunning effect seems to be 2 tiles based on the video. And the stun duration seems to be somewhere between 1 and 3 seconds. And it says that the stun duration depends on how many times she has healed the enemies. So the more times that she heals the enemies with her like the hot spring ability, that will extend the duration of the stun once it actually happens. So area stun that will last 3 seconds is obviously really strong, but the healing amount doesn't seem to be very strong, at least based on the video. And also she doesn't seem to be able to heal herself with this ability, so it will only hit the allies around her. So I would say that mostly this skill is just about the stun, like utilizing the stun part of it. I'm a little worried about how useful this skill is actually going to be, because while like a 3-second area stun is nice, that basically requires the enemies to be around her. Okay, so what are her strengths? Well, she is a tank character, so I'm assuming that she's gonna be quite tanky, but she also has some like healing, self-healing and self-shielding, which sounds good, so maybe she can actually do some like actual tanking. She can heal right away when the battle starts, because she creates the hot spring and it will stay there underneath her. And even if like she's stunned or something, she can still keep on healing herself. She has multiple crowd control abilities, so that's of course nice. And she's immune to the crowd control effects at the start of the battle. So her weaknesses are that to some extent that she's a Mauler hero, which is like Maulers are not really that used currently on the normal arena. Like I think the most used Mauler hero for me is Satrana, and that's like the only one that I like use very often. Now maybe on like the Supreme Arena side of things, Maulers can be used a little bit more. Her second weakness is that she's most likely only going to be usable on PvP, if even there, because like she doesn't really have Dream Realm stuff, because most of her kit is just about like stunning enemies and providing some healing, but she's not going to be the best healer, and enemies, the bosses can't be stunned, and she doesn't like provide any like attack buffs to the team, etc. So not going to be Dream Realm used. So one potential issue is that is she gonna be like tanky enough to actually like frontline, because she will just jump in and start like frontlining when enemies are using heroes like Fresto, for example, and Fresto has like vitality reduction, so that will reduce the amount of healing that she's able to get from her skills. I think right now a lot of the meta is not that heavy on dealing damage to frontline heroes. Like if you're thinking about heroes like Bonnie will target the backline. Tailin will kind of target the backline. Tassi will target the backline. So in that sense, she might be able to like stay alive because not everyone is going to be focusing on her. And then the final weakness is that she kind of seems to be very like placement reliant. Like everything in her kit kind of revolves around keeping the enemies on that like 2-tile hot spring area that she spawns at the start of the battle. So what are some hero synergies with her? Well, I think the first 4 heroes that kind of come to my mind when thinking about teams with her are gonna be twins. So twins will give vitality to everyone who is within the link, so that will then hopefully boost the amount of healing that your allies can receive from the healing hot spring. Twins will also give energy to everyone who is within those links, so then maybe she can start like at some point like casting her ultimate quite often and stunning all of the enemies. And then Gerda will hopefully be able to protect the front twin, because the front twin is also like a melee hero that is sometimes quite difficult to keep alive because she will like run forward. So then maybe the Gerda's healing area and her like front lining there will be able to like keep the front twin alive. Then the second small synergy that kind of came to my mind is Tailin. Tailin has this Pyre of Renewal ability, which gives the frontmost ally this effect that deals damage around the ally every second, and then it will do some healing based on the amount of damage done. So then if you could give these to Gerda, then that could potentially be a nice combo. And then maybe one potentially funny combo with Gerda would be Siren, because a Siren's ultimate will pull all of the enemies together, and then hopefully that would kind of like keep the enemies in the hot spring area. And then there is obviously some synergies with heroes like Shakir, where both of them are like melee heroes. Then Shakir has like this aura that gives benefits to nearby allies as well. But yeah, this was kind of like my first impression of her, like strengths and weaknesses and some potential team ideas. I'm not like overly confident that she's gonna be a hero that you need to pull for, but I am planning to do some testing with her once she is actually released, so I guess we will see a bit more then.